is now recording, so I will begin by taking the schedule for the Cambuslang and Rutherglen Area Committee on Wednesday, 17th of December 2025. We have apologies from Councillor Bradley. We have present Councillors Rogan, Brown, Kalkis. We have apologies from Councillor Cohen, and we have present Councillor Corey. I cannot see Councillor Fulton and Lennon. Yes, I cannot see. We have present Councillor Loudon. We have apologies from Councillor Newton. We have present Councillor Ray and Rock. So, and also number of officers are present here. In the absence of the chair and the deputy, in terms of the standing order number 34B of the council's standing order on procedures, can I ask the committee to choose a member from among your number to chair the meeting?
I'm happy to do that. I thought cheers looks given this.
So is that committee agreed?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's great. Yes. Thank you very much. Overwhelming response there from everyone. So good afternoon and welcome to this meeting of the area committee. We do have a number of guests today. We'll introduce as we go along, but thank you very much for attending and look forward to hearing from you. Before we can begin properly, item number 1 on the agenda is declaration of interest. Does anyone have any interest or connections to declare?
Just want to make a transparency statement on the declaration and so on item 5 to do with Rutherglen 900, which I chair. I think on behalf of my 2 colleagues as well. I think Andrew's not here today.
Great, thank you very much. I did think it was a bit silly asking the question, but when that was on the agenda, I appreciate that, Robert. Thank you. Moving on to item 2 is the minutes of the previous meeting, which was the 8th of October, which have been submitted for approval, and they begin on page 3 of your pack. Does anyone have any comments, questions, corrections on the previous minutes? No? Okay, I recommend we approve. Put a second there. Thank you, Norman. Thanks very much. Okay, on to substantive business today then. So I'd like to welcome Nicola McNaughton to our meeting this afternoon. Nicola is the Deputy Chief Executive of Routes to Work South, and she's here to deliver a presentation to us today on delivering lasting impacts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to be here today, and I'm joined with my colleague, Julie Lewis, Operations Manager, who if you don't mind. I will give you the notes to move through the pages. As you will probably have picked up from the presentation, 2025 is a special year for the organisation as we celebrated our 20th birthday. We did that by delivering 2 community-based events, and there are some familiar faces in the table that were present and in attendance at these events. So it seemed only fitting that today's presentation focused on exactly that, delivering a lasting impact over the last 20 years. If you can move to the next page for me. So for the last 20 years, Routes to Work South have really focused on eliminating poverty by supporting the people of South Lanarkshire to progress into sustainable employment, and also supporting local businesses to grow and develop. I'm sure you are all aware, but we are an arm's length organisation of South Lanarkshire Council, and Routes to Work South continues to provide best value through the delivery of community-based services, which are closely aligned to various council strategies. These include things such as the 22 to 27 KET plan and your Child Poverty Action Plan, to name a few. If you forward to the next page. As you can see from there, a really busy graphic showcasing or attempting to showcase some of our key achievements over the last 20 years, and I just want to take the opportunity to pick out a few of them. Firstly, is that we have established a strong delivery footprint across South Lanarkshire, and in doing so, we have created centralised hubs in each of the 4 main locality areas. We have been developing and delivering services in conjunction with our partners for the last 20 years, and this is primarily to support marginalised client groups. Winning multiple awards over the last 20 years, I'll touch on that now, but again later. And we kicked off the year winning the Regional Award for the Best Recruitment Business in 2025. And also securing over £8 million of alternative funding, which we have used over the years to create new and additional services. I think it's important to highlight that throughout these last 20 years, we have assumed the role of the honest broker, and effectively what we've looked to do is connect opportunity and need in order to maximise the impact. So some nice visuals on this slide for you. We have been making a difference to local people since 2025. And over the last 20 years, we have supported over 36,000 South Lanarkshire residents. Investment in infrastructure has enabled us to provide quality facilities, but it has also enabled us to improve access to services for local people. You will see in the bottom right-hand corner that over £8 million has been invested in local people. That has enabled us to train 19,500 local people over the years to meet local labour market demands, which is really important. And most importantly and most impressively is over 17,000 people have been supported by Routes to Work South into employment. This equates to approximately 3 people every day, highlighting the scale and the impact of the achievement. So every day we are effectively changing lives in Routes to Work South. This graph is an interesting one, which I thought members would be particularly interested in, but for more than 10 years, South Lanarkshire, highlighted in the line in blue, has consistently been the best performing local authority across the Glasgow City region. And Routes to Work South's achievements have been a key part of this, contributing to high levels of positive outcomes through sustainable jobs, but also improved school leaver destinations. Post-pandemic, our operating environment has changed significantly, and in the last 2 years, investment in employability in Scotland has reduced by 23%. In stark contrast to that, there has been an exponential increase in economic activity and people seeking health-related benefits, which is ultimately resulting in increased welfare spending. This growing imbalance continues to present many challenges, including reduced pathways to employment, increased public spending and poverty, skills shortages, increased inequality, and reduced business growth. In response, and over the last year or so, we've considered how we could remain focused on our purpose of alleviating poverty whilst continuing to respond to local needs. And in doing so, we created a new project called What I Need in Life, WIN for short. Economic inactivity is at its highest since 2004, with welfare spending projected to increase to £100 billion per annum by 2030. It is a growing concern, a growing problem, and we all have a responsibility to respond to that. National data reinforces the need for more innovative joined-up approaches, and WIN offers that through early engagement at community level, offering clients a lifeline of coordinated wraparound support. Launched in October 2024, WIN is a self-funded pilot programme covering 2 SIMD areas, both Rutherglen and Glanshire. Co-designed with our clients, WIN adopts a whole person approach, incorporating physical, emotional, mental and social aspects, whilst also removing barriers to progression and enabling meaningful participation from clients through collaborative working with our established network of partners. Delivered by our community wellbeing advisors, WIN offers personalised non-clinical support to help clients overcome barriers, reduce isolation, build trust and empower them to take positive steps to achieve long-term change. Okay. Next page. As you can see from the current slide, the pilot programme has already delivered positive results, proving that this type of innovative person-centred need-led intervention can address non-engagement, remove barriers and positively change lives. In July of the year, we were delighted to welcome the Scottish Government to our head office in CTEC. They were keen to learn a bit more about the WIN model, and it has sparked subsequent discussions about how the WIN approach could be delivered at scale and how it could be adopted in other local authority areas as a model of best practice. Owing to the success of the programme and with the support of our colleagues at South Lanarkshire Council, we are now preparing to roll out the service to other areas of South Lanarkshire. I am delighted to share with you today that earlier this month the WIN project was announced as the winner in the Removing Barriers to Employability category by the Deputy First Minister at the SURF Awards annual dinner. This award is without question testament to the hard work, passion and unwavering dedication of our staff. So looking ahead, our focus really is about strengthening pathways into work, investing in people and infrastructure, which includes the creation of a youth and wellbeing hub in Cambuslang, offering in part a solution to the impending closure of Cambuslang Job Centre, and working in partnership with communities to develop innovative services and tackle poverty whilst ensuring South Lanarkshire continues to thrive. So for me, does anyone have any questions?
Any comments or questions from anyone?
So interested, Nick, in the comment you made about 1 in 23 having a chance of return to the labour market for the disengaged from service. Now you're very much in that field, trying to make the bridge, aren't you?
Yeah.
Are we able to sort of transpose across the figures to the success rate you've got here? Say these are people who are disengaged from the labour market, and we're now able to say instead of 1 in 23, you've got 55% positive destination. Is that a direct lead across? Or
Yes. What I would say is through the delivery of our WIN service, we're probably seeing engagement rates of closer to about 85% of participants. So they first come through our doors, they learn a bit more about the service, and then they see that, you know, we can go at their pace, we can take it step by step, we can look at individual barriers. So we're seeing that complete contrast, but it's because of the model of delivery, and it's because that effectively the service is co-designed by clients. So we're not going to clients and telling them what we think they need. We've had that information and data from clients to help us inform, and they're effectively telling us what they need, and we're putting all the support mechanisms in place to help them to make those positive steps forward. That statistic that you highlight, Robert, it was actually part of a Scottish Government report that was actually published earlier this year. That's why they were so particularly interested in the WIN model, because they're looking at how do we engage these people at a local level and truly make a difference.
You were saying more about how you get them through the door in the first place, because that's often the biggest challenge, isn't it, to start it off?
What we do, so we have 2 community wellbeing advisors at the moment, and what they do is they go into the community areas. So they will pop up in different community groups and different venues such as this in Rutherglen and other areas, and what they will go in with a no pressure chat around this is what WIN is, this is what it can offer you. And from there we will leave them with some information. We will offer to pop back maybe in a week or so, or alternatively they can engage with us. And again, it's that no pressure. It's giving them the information, allowing them to make that informed decision, but it's also about meeting them where they're at. So, you know, some of our clients are particularly anxious, so to walk through our doors is a massive step. So if we need to meet them 5, 6, 7 times in a community venue that they're comfortable with, that's what we'll do until such times as they're then able to come through our doors, participate in group work sessions, etc. So it is very, very flexible. is how I would describe it. And often as well, what we're finding now is a lot of the referrals and inquiries that are coming through are through word of mouth. So people are saying, I can't believe the difference, this is what they've done for me, and we're now passing it on, and we're actually getting inquiries. It's just as well we're rolling it out, because we're actually now getting inquiries from other areas saying, how do I tap into this programme? And we're simply saying, watch this space that's coming soon.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nicola. Margaret.
Do you go into the likes of Universal Connections or any youth clubs or any to engage?
Yes, so we have connections with Universal Connections that we link with them. There's community meetings that we do that we're represented. We host quite often in CTEC. I think it's once every 2 months or once a month, and we bring representation from partners and we discuss what some of the issues are and how we can join. There are issues, and from time to time we will be invited in to those settings to obviously talk to those participants about the services available. Absolutely, absolutely. There is as well, which obviously is important to note, and Douglas will touch on this, but they offer an Aspire service, so they're working with the kids as they leave school and that transition. We generally pick them up round about 18. So Douglas does his part. And on a lot of occasions they will move into positive destinations, but if for whatever reason they don't, then they will start to come through our doors.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Can I ask about, you mentioned the plans to close the job centre in Cambuslang
Yes.
and the plan for the youth hub. Now obviously that's not the sort of direct replacement, and it's only talking to a particular group, but to what extent will that, do you think, be able to replace or what the sort of services that are being lost?
The service that's been created won't be run as a traditional youth hub, as you know it. It will actually be a youth and wellbeing hub, and the reason for the wellbeing is it allows then Job Centre to refer in customers that are on a health related benefit. So you're absolutely right. You know, to use the term youth, there's a perception that it's only your 18 to 24-year-olds, but that wellbeing aspect allows people that are maybe accessing sickness benefit and stuff. So, you know, in theory, it's about providing them with accessible services. Now, we do a lot of work with Job Centre and have done for many, many years, and they are a main referral source for us. But what it does do is it means that the people of Cambuslang are still able to come into a dedicated central hub that offers that support, and there will be work coach presence within the youth hub as well. So in theory, it should in the main address, but we accept that there are some nuances which obviously Job Centre Plus will pick up directly themselves, and Douglas may want to offer a bit more.
Yeah, I can pick up because that's something you update that on as well, to read that some group of employment partnership at CTEC around the setting up of the hub, and one of the kind of well, it's probably a language is around to what extent will the youth club stop those young people and other folk having to go to Rutherglen when Rutherglen opens. And I think there's a wee bit of language around like signing on, and it's essentially mandate appointments, because while we're not going to host mandated appointments at the hub, the Job Centre confirmed that people who are engaging with that hub will not have to attend Rutherglen. So it's a kind of thing about, so you can do a mandated appointment with a security guard, and through a kind of there's a legal process to go through to the folks. The appointments won't be mandated, but they will replace mandated appointments. So long as young people are turning up to meet the appointment at CTEC, they won't need to go to Rutherglen. Now, if they stop attending, the Job Centre actually come down to Rutherglen because you're not attending the other. So because we're a bit concerned about the lack of mandated appointments, being that some people would have to attend the hub and to Rutherglen. That's not going to be the case. So we get in the new year just to follow up some of the days that we can introduce the years from the partnership.
But that's quite encouraging. You mentioned it's going to be available to some other people about that of each group. What sort of groups are we talking about? Is that single people or?
Yeah, so effectively Job Centre Plus will determine who sits under that wellbeing banner. And for some of them it will be people claiming sickness absence sickness benefit that have indicated that they are looking for work. It will be down to them to determine that. But over and above that, we deliver a whole raft of services as part of the LEP that supports people with disabilities, that supports parents, that supports young people. So people will always be able to get support, whether it's in the form of one of the LEP programmes or by directly engaging with the Youth and Wellbeing Hub.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Nicola. And Douglas as well, about the Job Centre. We've all spoken about our concerns about what's going to happen when the Job Centre closes. And it's still slightly concerned to hear about essentially it's going to be a Job Centre Plus themselves, so determining who can access it. And there's a lot to come out in the wash. So it's good to hear there'll be another update coming in January, New Year, and I'm sure we'll have another update on that as well. I also just wanted to take the opportunity to congratulate you on your success at the Surf Awards. For the WIN project, I actually saw the press release coming through in the report that Surf had produced with more information about it. And you'd said earlier in your presentation about how the business of changing lives, essentially. And that was something that I saw that the judges at Surf picked up when we actually spoke to participants in the project as well. So it's lovely feedback for you. You're doing a fantastic job, and I'm sure everyone else can see the joy in you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And if any of you would like to come out and visit the project or see any of the services we deliver, our door is always open. So please reach out. Okay.
Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. Just I'll say that to all of our guests in turn as well. I appreciate it's a really busy time of the year, so you're more than welcome to stay, but please.
No problem. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before you progress, I should have also been for starting as gateway along the map. I was obsessed with all of that.
I think the same session over that's yeah. Right, so happy to fill item 3 and invoice item 4.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. If you want to get this, so Robert and Margaret, just like it. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Right, we're on to item 4 now, which is our Clyde Gateway update. We have a report which starts on page 7 of your pack. And I would like to invite Nikki Spence along to the meeting today and speak to us. Nikki is Head of Sustainable Communities at Clyde Gateway, and she's going to deliver this update. Thanks for your question.
Thank you very much. I've come along today to give you an update, not just on the paper that you have before you, but we thought it might be a bit interesting to see some photographs. It's Christmas after all, so we're trying to lighten it up a wee bit. And a picture tells 1,000 words. So with Council and Regent's permission, we've brought a presentation to you. So I'll talk through that, but I'm also happy to take any questions on the paper that has been circulated in advance. So to the next slide. So some of you will already know, we've had declarations already about Clyde Gateway, but just to refresh our memories. So what we're seeing here, I'm going to stand up so that I can actually point to this and you can see some of the places on here, if that's okay. Apologies to those joining us remotely. But we have a blue line boundary for Clyde Gateway. It's roughly 840 hectares of land covering parts of South Lanarkshire, mainly the Rutherglen area from Main Street upwards and east end of Glasgow. Now it's roughly a 50-50 land split between Glasgow and South Lanarkshire, but predominantly when Clyde Gateway started, the majority of the population sat on the Glasgow side, but a diminishing population at that. So to pinpoint where we are, here's Rutherglen train station here, we're in Rutherglen Town Hall, Shawfield you'll be familiar with, the Greyhound Stadium here, moving over to the likes of the Police Scotland building up to Bridgeton Cross. And this is Cunningar Woodland Park. The Clyde Gateway was established with 3 main objectives, the Sunday names of which are building community capacity, sustainable place transformation and increasing economic activity. but we shorten that down to people, place and jobs, because that gets to the heart of it, and people are at the start of what we do. So our main partners, Glasgow City Council, South Lanarkshire Council and Scottish Enterprise, with the support of both Scottish and UK governments. Now, Clyde Gateway has been set up as what we call a special purpose vehicle. The scale of the challenge is so significant that no one member organisation could take on that challenge. And the main challenge in this area, you'll be very familiar with that, was that blue line that we saw in the previous slide, was around heavily contaminated land, and no more so than in Shawfield in South Lanarkshire, and that in itself was hindering any economic and social growth within the area. So the three members have brought together the special purpose vehicle with charitable status. We have multiple funding sources, and we have our own trading subsidiary, Clyde Gateway Developments Limited, and the proceeds of that through rents and sales, etc., come back up into the charitable parent company, and it's those reserves and funds that we can use to apply to various activities, including some that I'll give you an update on, and some that you'll have seen in the paper that was circulated. So let's go into people, just a few highlights on this. And for those joining us online, do stop me. I can see at the bottom of the screen, so if you've got any questions, just stop me as we go. I know you can't see me. So in terms of people we work with, a number of schools, we work with 4 associated secondary schools, 2 in Glasgow, 2 in South Lanarkshire, and with their wider learning communities as and when appropriate. So in South Lanarkshire, that's Trinity and Stonelaw, and in Glasgow, that's East Bank and St Mungo's. And there's a number of different ways that we engage with those schools in education. This here, we're not putting any of the kids down this hole, but this is the BGS, the British Geothermal Survey work that we are doing down in Cunningar. So hopefully everyone around this table and virtual table have been down to Cunningar. What you might not have noticed is that we actually have a world-class geothermal observatory in Cunningar that's looking at mine water works and how we can use that to power homes and industry in the future. But we're going to use that in a way that develops out what we're calling our transition to net zero action plan and a manifesto. We're not creating that. These children here are creating that along with colleagues, with people within the community, and importantly being led by Trinity and Stonelaw senior pupils to develop that manifesto over a 3-year period. We're in year 3. They're bringing that back to us around all these tables to say this is what they think and they need round about that transition. It'll be jobs, it'll be homes, it'll be a cultural shift and what we can do to support that. So the schools are very much involved in what we do, and this is just some examples of the work they're doing down at Cunningar through our BGS project. Another example, now I have to look at the ties here. This is either Trinity or Stonelaw, who, if you've seen down at Cunningar, we have a huge artists in residence programme and Clyde Gateway covering both Glasgow and South Lanarkshire. And in South Lanarkshire, that is supported by South Lanarkshire Leisure and Culture colleagues who bring artists in as a means to engage people in something that sometimes can be rather dull, regeneration. But what it means for local young people is that they can involve themselves in this. We bring it into the curriculum. It's developed across the curriculum so they get a portfolio that works towards qualifications. And the result of that is we've got some nice art pieces embedded in Cunningar. So this one you'll see when you go down to Cunningar, some of you might have seen it. When you walk from one direction, you'll see this beautiful forest and you'll see this beautiful river running through it. But if you come from the other direction, you'll see landfill. And it's that message and image that we're working with within the schools about we all have a role to play. Cunningar itself was a landfill. It was left there for many years, and it was the old Gorbals that was dumped in it. And quite a lot of people, even those that live in Rutherglen, wouldn't even know it existed. And now we have a 30-acre park, of which 3/4 of that has been developed out and is critically used, and we'll see that by local people and brings significant investment to the area. We also work with businesses. We engage extensively with inward investors and Indigenous businesses, but we try to connect them into people so they don't just sit here and neither the two twain should meet. What we do is we bring them in under projects that we have. So we have Gateway to Hospitality, we have Gateway to Engineering, we have Gateway to Sustainable Energy, and this is our STEM project. So you'll be familiar with STEM projects here, and this is some of the schools that have participated in that, where we've got the businesses in and the schools participating in terms of their transition to net zero. particularly focusing in Rutherglen. So a couple of examples of, again, of our artists in residence work we're doing. So a number of different groups working with the Rutherglen Dementia Group, where we're using art and drama to engage with older residents. So it's not just about young people, and it's not just about those that are looking for an economic opportunity, a job or training. And then we've got a Rutherglen Carers Group, where we've used music to try and engage not just with those who are maybe experiencing dementia, but their wider family members as well for a bit of respite. And they've proven to be very good projects where we can take an intergenerational dimension there as well. And sometimes, certainly in the Glasgow side of what we do, we're connecting them with nurseries. So you'll have a situation where you'll maybe have quite high levels of single parents who don't necessarily have that family support. And one of the nice things we can do is we can arrange a buddying system where you can get, you know, an older person that might not be sure on their feet, but if they're pushing a buggy, they're sure on their feet. And you've got maybe a young mother that's not too sure on what they're doing and anyone to talk to, and it builds that social interaction. So really good examples here that are coming through. We move on. Addressing health inequality. So again, this is really important. Clyde Gateway's ultimate aim is an economic aim, and it is to be to give people jobs and training and to be productive members of society. But within this area, and you've heard from Nicola and Roots to Work South colleagues, a lot of people aren't at that position yet. We have very high levels of inactivity in this area. So not unemployed, inactive due to ill health. So we need to consider what those conditions are so that we can try and address that. And some people will say, well, that's the job of the health board. Yes, it certainly is, but the health board will come back and tell you that's not necessarily all our work. They'll talk about social determinants of health. They'll talk about things like good quality housing, and they'll talk about access to clean space and not being next to a vacant or derelict site. All of these things are important. We'll talk about those. But certainly what we've led in is projects with colleagues in the Lives of Healthy and Happy Community Development Trust. And we've run and we've actually led on projects where the health boards have said, that's too difficult. We don't want to get involved in that. And this is an example of one of these. This was under the cancer screening programmes. So one of the key diseases in this area, and many, but specifically in this area, where people are losing their life early or it's diminishing quality of life, is cancers. Now, can we change that? No, but what we can do is try and get more people coming forward for the 3 main screening programmes, cervical, bowel and breast screening. And if you're detected early, you have a better success rate. So we were told if we could improve the figure by 1%, we'd be doing well. And we managed to put a programme in place by having local people. You might recognise some of these local people in local places saying, get it done. Health colleagues didn't really like this. It's one bit of poo every 2 years to get your in gear. But we said, that's how people talk. That's how you talk to your friends. Don't be afraid. I'll come with you. I'll take your hand. And we've managed to increase that to 2%. Healthy and Happy are still doing that work, and it's fantastic. And you'll see that coming through. But people don't recognise that about Clyde Gateway because they think it's about shiny buildings and new roads. Next, we'll come on to the shiny buildings and the new roads as well. Place. So I don't need to tell people in this room about Rutherglen's history and its industrial legacy, but if you see some of the pictures, for about 150 years, between 1818 and 1968, Shawfield was the site of one of the largest chrome chemical works in the world, White's Chemicals Factory. So there's an image there you'll see. So this is on the Damarnock side of the river. That's still there. That's the wastewater treatment works. This is coming up. Here's Shawfield Stadium at the top. And this whole swathe of land is White's Chemical. So it's very different from what you'll see today. Here's some of the factories that you'll have seen going up there. So basically dumping hexavalent chromium under the ground and going into the water courses. But this is Shawfield today. There's the stadium there. Active, economic active use. So remember, we've already got economic activity. Is it growth sector? No, it's not, but it's economic and it's active, and the people have jobs working in these areas. This is Red Tree Magenta, and this is the site that we've remediated for circa £20 million under the ground there. This is a big job, but if we don't do this, there's a big fence that goes around this area and says health conditions, health contaminants, do not come near, forgo up to 15,000 new jobs. And that's what we can't do. We have to keep going, but it's a struggle. Our board recognise this struggle, but have stuck at it for many years. If we go to the next slide, you'll see some of the progress that we've got. This year, with the support of South Lanarkshire Council and funding from UK government in particular, we've managed to build 2 units, and they're out to offer those units just now at Shawfield, and that's obviously the motorway, and that's our Burnhill community, and the Burnhill Highbacks just in there that you can see just across the road. and the community benefits attached to this community here. Can't get direct access to it, you need to go the way around the corner, as you know, but that's what we were doing. What you'll also see here, just in this picture, is see this area here? This is actually another woodland park. That's a park we've created called Maya. So we don't only have Cunningar Woodland Park, we've got a huge £2.6 million project that we developed out that the entrance to is here. So that's Burnhill, that's the entrance. So we're really encouraging through the work of Healthy and Happy and others that connection and community. Next slide, thanks. Cunningar Loop, pre-1914, well, it might be pre-2014, before the Commonwealth Games. So this is the loop here. You'll see the show people community here. Again, you'll be very familiar that 54% of Scotland's show people community sit within the Clyde Gateway area, and that South Lanarkshire, Glasgow East cohort, Celtic Park here, and some of the tenements that have been sitting in the flatted properties. So as I say, that was very much a dumping ground for the old Gorbals, and you'll see the pylons still sitting in there, and the amount of work we had to do to get that to a point where we could convert that. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see that aerial image. And you'll see the work still retaining the show people community. These are not travellers, we know that. They are economically active, productive members and businesses within the community, so we support them to do that. The new houses at the Athletes Village. This phase of the park that you're all probably familiar with, which was phase 1, about 14 hectares in total. Phase 2 coming in here, and phase 3, if you're driving up to it just now, you'll start to see that. We're South Lanarkshire Council. We've supported some food growing areas and allotments. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Burnhill Highbacks, many of you are familiar with that, and the work that's happening there, again, engaging in the community. So this is where the connections to the likes of Roots to Work South come in. People will engage because they're interested in art and painting through our arts and residence programmes that we run through the summer, through our community benefits. But if they are interested, then Roots to Work South are stepping in to deliver that support to take them to the next step. District heating network connection to Shawfield. Clyde Gateway has 2 district heating networks. We're on 2 district heating networks. Very interesting. If you're down at Shawfield, you'll see that this is a bridge that goes across, and we had the foresight to call this a smart bridge because it takes the power to and from. So ideally, Shawfield will have a lot of industrial use, and the power will flip one side Shawfield during the day and back over to Damarnock where the housing stock will be at night. That's extremely oversimplified, and my colleague will hit me for that, but never mind. Move on. Moving on to innovation. So before I come on to the jobs, Clyde Gateway is now launching its 10-year business case moving forward, and it's based around innovation and a master plan proposal. Now, I've got some wee handouts that people can see if they want, and you'll see this in a little bit more detail. But this is the breakdown of the proposals for investment within Damarnock and Shawfield in particular, and you'll see some arts impressions of the jobs that are going to be created. So this is the Shawfield area here, significant areas within South Lanarkshire for that investment coming in. And we're talking about £500 million of investment that ultimately we could create in this area. Okay, somebody's going to say, have you got 500 million? No, you haven't, but you need to speculate to accumulate. So next slide. Jobs. And if anyone asks that, I'll pass it over to, I think, Councillor Brown. So not a very good slide. I don't know why that's come up blurry, but just to give you an example of how we deliver on jobs. So Top Golf, you'll all be familiar with Top Golf, but Top Golf weren't coming to Rutherglen. Now they call it Top Golf Glasgow, we all know it's Top Golf Rutherglen. They weren't coming here, they were going to the other side of the city. And we convinced them to come here because the transport links, the fact that they could get Edinburgh and Glasgow in one shout, but we also convinced them to come here and to do the recruitment in this very building and not to take it into the city centre. We enabled that through Roots to Work South. We brought them on board as well. And if we go to the next slide, some of the top figures there. They opened their venue in December 2022. It was like -12 degrees on the night they opened it. We had meet the buyer events so local businesses could get involved, and over 330 jobs were created, with 78% being local, and that was down to the work of DWP, Skills Development Scotland, and critically Roots to Work South. Without Roots to Work South, we are not going to be delivering for local people. Others will come into the area, and that's what happens in the regional economy. But to make sure that local people get these jobs, we need that support. And around 50 of these are 16 or 17-year-olds. That's really important for somewhere like Top Golf. It's a hospitality venue, and they're selling alcohol. So for them to put aside jobs that we could take out, I literally took the ND out to our secondary schools and stood in front of 600 pupils in both Trinity and Stonelaw and got those pupils to sign up there, and then they're working their way through apprenticeships. That's what we mean about bringing these connections together. Go to the next one, please. Rattle through. Rutherglen links, again, another one of our examples, bringing in, we look at these projects and we also then look at the investment we can get and the return on that investment, so we could sell them on, invest the money back into the community. Next slide. This is phases 1 and 2. So you've got Rutherglen links and then the offices, and then all the way around here, you've got the industrial units. So you've got Trans-Canada Turbines, Equis, Ford, etc., all sitting in that space. Again, Red Tree Magenta, just another example. So everything we do is to bring jobs along with us. So in the construction phase, we look at jobs. At the end occupier phase, we look at jobs, and we try to connect them into local people. So some of the achievements, just to bring to your attention, some of this information, you might not be able to see it, and some of these will stick out like a sore thumb. So population changes. We compare ourselves with other areas because sometimes these figures look way out, and you need to understand the level of change. So in Clyde Gateway, we've seen a 33% change in the population compared to other areas, compared to South Lanarkshire of 6.1% and 9.7% in Glasgow. Now, we've been told to increase the population by 21,000. We had 19,000 to start with, so we're more than doubling the population. But with that, people then say, but are you just bringing in other people that are higher skilled, more educated, healthier, and you're not addressing the underlying issues? Well, that's not the case if you look at some of the stuff we're doing. Increase in GVA is sitting at 59.4%. The city region is sitting at 46%. South Lanarkshire is at 33%. That's hugely significant. The number of businesses, 33% against the South Lanarkshire 5.9%. And then people in employment, no, it's not a typo. People in employment has gone up 255% against 30% in South Lanarkshire. One of the key reasons for that is, unfortunately, the baseline, the starting point for that was extremely low. It was extremely low, and we've actually increased that, the number of people in employment up the way. And we've also brought in significantly more business space than any of these other areas. Now, that's a slight on Scotland as a whole because there isn't enough investment in existing business space. And sometimes businesses move out of Scotland into other areas. We've seen that in Clyde Gateway through the likes of Pladis, St Magbitties. They've had to move, and then we've had to look at how we invest in that space. Okay. So we're going to continue for the next 10 years. We're going to continue to focus on employment, housing, business growth, community wellbeing, economic value, social value, and environmental value. I'm not going into all the detail in that. Next slide. And we've put forward a strong economic case, which we've just looked at in the last week or so, and we've actually improved that position. But just to bring out a couple of things here. So we're probably looking, we've said the total GVA impact of gross benefit to cost ratio 5.14 to 1. So anything above 1 is good. 5 is extremely good if you're to look at that comparatively speaking. We think we can push that even further. Next. Just an overview of what it's going to look like. So again, you'll see here's Shawfield, and that is where the owners there get consent for flatted properties. These are the 2 units that are already built. We'll build out others if we get that 500 million investment there, and a lot of houses, flatted properties, hotels, etc. all around this area. But that's on your wee handouts. And just, I think, to finish off, this is Shawfield. This is that impression of the Shawfield Greyhound Stadium, the industrial units, Red Tree Magenta, which is already there. And we have in the process just now a project that's going on live in Shawfield called Red Tree Lab Space. It will focus on life sciences, and that is a circa £17 million project that will be going on site early in the year. So I think that's the last slide. Yeah, so happy to take any questions on the presentation or the paper.
Thank you very much. Anyone, any comments, questions?
Thank you very much for the presentation, Nikki Son, which is mildly familiar to me from before. Could I ask about environment and net zero? Because one of the things you've sort of touched on is a pollution clean-up and all of that, but quite a lot of stuff's been done, isn't it, to do with net zero in the businesses and the way in which you're building the buildings and the district heating and all that. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Clyde Gateway, I am also responsible like Gateway's transition to net zero actions and action plan. It has about 10 distinct areas of work, which includes education, so connecting into schools, colleges and universities, businesses, the environment and that energy profile. So in terms of our energy prioritisation, our district heat networks are key to that. Retrofitting of housing stock is critical to that. And then looking at that other views of generating energy, so solar powers, the BGS geothermal is important to that as well. If we go back then to look at some of the other aspects of that, so the green jobs are really important. One of the things we do is we work with local businesses and we host transition to net zero business events at Topgolf. Sometimes you think, they've got their doors wide open and the heat's going up. So how are we working with them? So each local authority has to look at their LPs, their heat maps basically, and to see where energy is being used and where they can focus on energy hubs. And we will be an LP's partner to be able to do that. We're already looking at the connections that we can make, whether that be housing, whether that be commercial buildings. But the sessions that we have at Topgolf, and we have them 3 times a year, bring together local businesses, some who are quite far forward in their transition to net zero journey. Really good example of a Rutherglen business would be Eccles, who act as a mentor for other businesses, not necessarily in the same sector as those, but to say this is what you need to think about, this is what you need to do. The other aspect of that is as we are building out all of these spaces, offices, commercial spaces, lab spaces, we are doing that to what's called BREEAM Excellent Standard. And we're doing it to a standard where that we are at the top of the market. Again, important for the environment, but also important for our investment. Those properties will not necessarily sell on, and we will not, recuperate the return of that investment to put back into the community unless it's at the most environmentally high standards, quality build standards, and future-proofed for technology as well. So a number of the businesses we work with, like Acumen Cyber and some of the projects that are working with us are looking at how we use the data we're already gathering for transition to net zero to feed into new projects. So you get working in skills, working in environment, and the likes of the parks really important. Biodiversity, we've got full biodiversity action plan as well. So TNZ critical.
And then, so perfect area, Margaret, okay.
Can I just ask about the shopping stadium where we are, what's the latest for that?
So Clyde Gateway don't own that, as you'll know. So the owners of that site have submitted and I believe have an initial indicative planning permission consent for platted properties. So what you see there is a artist's image of what that could be. So the idea is that they would be building flats within that space with ground floor amenities, so shops, etc. So we've incorporated that into the master plan for the area that you've seen, that you'll see in there. But again, that's not within like Gateway's ownership or delivery, but they are included within that. So that's what you see. You're looking at that. That's an artist's impression there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I'm just to say thanks very much for that. I think it's hugely impressive in terms of the scale, the transformation of that whole area. And I remember it when years ago was brought up in Rutherglen, and particularly in terms of stimulating economic growth and the numbers of jobs that you've created in the apprenticeships, and obviously opportunities for the leisure business. And I think what it does show, I think, very clearly, is what is possible is if you actually devolve that level of investment to regions and local authorities, what they can actually do. I think it's an excellent exemplar of that, because you have the knowledge, the local knowledge is there and the contacts are there, rather than it being, down from afar. So I think in terms of economic growth, it would be fantastic if we could just go across Scotland and devolve that level of investment. I think within 5 years we might be some way to get out of the situation that we're in at the moment. But I think it's really hugely impressive. And the other thing I was going to, obviously with the business and that there is a private sector buy-in as well, and a level of investment that's have getting private sector on board, which is always good in terms of accessing these resources.
Absolutely, yeah, critically, private sector are important. So in that total investment that we're talking about, there's what we can deliver at our own hands, like Gateway and like South Lanarkshire Scottish Enterprises support. There's what we can do through a joint venture with the public and private sector. And then there's what we need to be done at a gross level by the private sector itself. And when we think about that skills investment, the greatest amount of money that will be invested in skills will be through the private sector and that business by itself. But the pushback will come on those businesses, say, well, we're paying a levy for apprenticeships, what are we getting from that? What can we do? What else will we do on top of that until we see the return on that levy investment? So we're trying to balance all of that and make sure that the private sector have to be critical to this for true growth and sustained growth.
Thank you. Just one from me quickly, if it's okay. I was lucky enough to pop down to the Gateway earlier in the year with an MSP. I was really interested. I love seeing big maps, so I was enjoying looking at the big maps. But I was particularly interested in looking at the phase where the sort of life sciences developments are going to be. I think that sounds great. It's obviously a real growth sector, a lot of innovation and change in that whole industry. It's really exciting, and the idea of having that specialised, dedicated space for businesses to be able to come into is great. The type of work that you've been doing previously with local schools, would you envisage when businesses do start to take up that space to build on those connections in the life sciences field, as well as all of the work you've done previously with engineering, right?
All of that happens, but again, it's giving people the time to take that up, because we need to be building. Yes, we're working in nurseries, and we're working with nurseries as well, and we're working all the way through, and it's really important that we're supporting curriculum for excellence. But we have to be supporting people here and now when the businesses come in. So when we go out there and say we've got this big lab space come in, what they're wanting is people to start on the job now. So first and foremost, that process is that we work with Sort South, we work with the colleges, with the universities to prime people who are working age now, and we work back from that. So the further back we get from that, it becomes more generic. So it becomes the meta skills that colleagues in education will be familiar with, skills development in Scotland, so that we're bringing people up to a point where they can start to look at career opportunities and be more focused in the sector, but we've given them the meta skills that they need to open up all the opportunities. But absolutely, I'll be there with the MD as top golf and the MD High Impulse, the rocket scientists, taking them out to every school I can if I get my way. Yeah, and I usually do. So some of that.
Great, thank you very much. If there's no further comments or questions, everyone happy to the report? Okay,
That's
very much.
thank you. Lovely Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you. So we're moving on to item 5, everyone, which is that presentation on Rutherglen 900. Welcome Rachel Neal, project lead, and Councillor Brown, who's also going to take us through this. So.
Thank you very much. Those are 7 pages slides of Rutherglen. I believe it's spelled out before Nicola after the 2 previous presentations. I'll offer that one, I'm afraid. Just run through the background to it, if I may. We've been on the go since August 2023, and we set up a steering committee to celebrate the 90th anniversary of the Charter of the Royal Borough in 2026. The aims basically at that stage were to develop a programme of activities covering arts and culture, music, heritage, environment, community, sport, and hopefully to leave a bit of legacy as well. Click over a wee bit, yeah, that's fine. We're conscious that it's not just Rutherglen. Rutherglen's got a number of individual communities, of which there are 13 listed. And it's maybe a note of minor, just to say we've gone beyond the boundaries of the old Royal Borough, didn't take in all these areas to Rutherglen as we now know it. So there's areas like Eastfield, for example, are included in this, but aren't within the Royal Borough boundaries per se. So that's really the geography of it. And as we've come to it, and then we're trying to also to do things not just in the Main Street area, but also in some of the local communities as well. And it's very important that there's both an identity, if you like, Burnham, Beth on the one hand, and Rutherglen on the other as well. In terms of the picture, that's just a picture of some of the committee members at one of the meetings, but we've been very keen to be cross-party and cross-community right from the beginning in terms of what we've done there. And I think we're going to be successful in that as well. In terms of funding, there's a little mistake on the thing which I'll come to in a minute. And I should have said at the beginning that the front, we've talked about celebrating the 900th anniversary of Rutherglen Borough, so this is a royal borough, not just a borough. In terms of funding, we had initial funding from the council, £35,000, and from Clyde Gateway at £60,000. Makes the point, doesn't it, of Nicky's wider activity things as well. And the council in the last budget provided further £100,000 of funding within the current year's budget. And of that, £85,000 available to Rutherglen 900, and the rest of it is there to support the Royal Borough Street Signs project, which I'll come to below. We're also trying to do a bit of sponsorship on this one. We've now got in place the principal sponsor, Specsavers, who come in at that level, and we'll be looking for silver and bronze sponsors as well. And just recently, there's been a grant application that's been successful in creating Scotland Open Fund, and that's not £10,000 as it says in the name, but £84,000. Rachel will tell you a bit more about that later on. I touched on the steering committee. We've continued to call it that, but it's really more the management committee now, a bit more permanent. But it comprises the local elected members, cross-party across Parliament and the local community as well. 2 community councils, a number of anchor organisations, the churches, religious organisations, and schools in particular, youth organisations, community bodies, and members of the public. And I think it's reasonably representative in that context. We've been very fortunate to get a lot of people along to it who've been representing these wider groups. It's also supported by an advisory committee, trying to keep us right on the finances and the strategy, if you like, which is made up of the council, the Leisure Trust, Clyde Gateway, Healthy and Happy, and the Rutherglen 900 officers, myself and Barbara Atkinson, our treasurer. We've appointed a little while back Rachel as the project lead, more recently, again on a part-time basis, Rasheen as the community events coordinator, and that's given us a great degree of strength and depth, if you like, which we didn't have before. I know Rachel doesn't feel like strength and depth sometimes, but there's a lot of pressure on it, but it has made a big difference to what we've been able to do. We house it through Healthy and Happy, I think it's worth mentioning too, because it's saves them to set up, if you like, employment arrangements and all that for ourselves. I think perhaps I'll hand over to Rachel at that point to deal with the programme. Just in general, by way of introduction to that, we deliver some events directly, we do some in partnership, and some by council departments or by the Leisure Trust with support from us. A lot of work to be done by Rachel on that particular front. But we're trying to encourage as many groups as we can to do things in their own area. So we support community groups with up to £200 of finance to do local events if they can do that, and up to £400, not for individual sports clubs, as it says there, but individual sports, basketball or rugby or whatever it happens to be. And I think that's going to be quite successful in giving a bit of support for inter-area competitions, things of that kind. Over to Rachel as we go into the next.
Everyone. So where are we here? The development of the programme. Yeah, so as Robert's just mentioned, we've got this 3-week programme, and if you go onto the website, the Rutherglen 900 website, you'll see all of the events that are currently active. And as Robert said, the strategy of the Rutherglen 900 programme is to use some of the funding that we've secured as an organisation to invest in certain projects, also to kind of reach out to other organisations within and outside of Rutherglen to see if we can have some events that happen within Rutherglen, effectively putting Rutherglen on the map, so to speak. And also working in partnership with lots of kind of key community organisations such as South Lanarkshire Leisure, Grow 73 and Healthy and Happy. So they are effectively, we're working in partnership in the sense that we're also developing a programme of stuff that we put into our programme. So you'll probably see from our website that we've got a very healthy programme coming from the town hall here, which I've developed in partnership with Rebecca. And similarly, the same thing happening with the libraries as well.
So all of those events are ongoing and will continue to be added throughout 2026. And as Robert mentions, we've also recently put out a call for community groups to come forward and to effectively put on their own event, which they can apply for funding for. And those events can be, so for example, I've got a community down the road that are putting on their own film night where they're kind of presenting their own local history of the area. We've got coffee mornings that are happening. We've got various different celebrations and various kind of craft things. So that means that any community groups can get in contact. They go through a simple process where they can fill out a form and then it becomes part of the programme. So we're hoping that the programme, well, it already is, covering the whole of these 13 communities, but I suppose the whole theory and principle of this strategy is that we're making sure that the programme is across all of these 13 communities and not just kind of condensed in one area. There's also a number of themed activities, so that people love the 900 tag that you can kind of easily apply to things. So we've got 900 bags of kindness as an example, which is a project run by the Churches Together group, and they are effectively doing a whole food bank strategy where they're distributing bags, these kind of beautiful Rutherglen 900 bags, which are all going to get filled with certain items that are needed by the food bank and then taken to Rutherglen and Cambuslang food banks. So that's a gorgeous example of one of the kind of 900 events. We've also got 900 origami peace cranes and 900 stories of faith. So these are beautiful little projects that are bubbling up and emerging, and you will see on our website. So maybe just to give you a more detailed idea of the programme. So we've got a list of highlights. I mean, this is quite a lot, and it's quite a drain to go through, but I'll go through them all, and hopefully some of them will stick in your imagination. And also, please obviously take this away and have a kind of further look at it on the website. So on the 29th of January, we've got the launch event here in the prestigious town hall, which I'm very much looking forward to. We're maybe calling that our beacon event. So that's the first event of the year where we're officially announcing the launch of the event, and we've got lots of local representatives, either guest speakers. We've got Provost and Robert doing conversations. We've got representatives from the Heritage Society, and we've got local musicians playing. So in a sense, it's a bit like a kind of mini Celtic Connections that we're doing here at the town hall. So that's one to watch, and we will have bagpipes and live projections outside as a bit of a kind of opening to that evening. Then 31st of January, we've got a performance called Bloom, and that will be on at Fernhill Community Centre. Lovely performance for families. As I was saying, the library have got a whole series of talk and slideshow events that they're having across the library here on the main street, and also Spring Hall Library. We've got the folk songs of Matt McGinn. Some of you might know Matt McGinn, a very famous folk musician from Rutherglen, kind of world known, and Fraser Bruce, a local musician, wanted to really highlight the work of Matt McGinn and celebrate it, because as probably some of you know, Rutherglen was known as a folk hub of Scotland. So he's really trying to tap back in and reignite that. He's done a few events at the town hall. He's also written the Rutherglen song for the children's choir to sing at the launch event for the opening on the 29th of January. So that will be a huge highlight. We have got, what else have we got? We've got all of the, I suppose it's also worth knowing that we've got all of these gorgeous events which we're hoping to connect to that already happen in Rutherglen, for example, Landomer Day. And we've got various other performances called Home for Hamish. And recently we've had the first ever confirmation that we're having the Rutherglen first ever Mela Festival happening here in the town hall. So that is all coming together very nicely. What else will I say here? Rutherglen Science Project. Robert, do you want to maybe talk about the Royal Forestry Signs project in the buildings.
It's worth saying if you can move on to the next slide, if you don't mind. Whilst we're going around the areas, clearly the main street is really the focal shop window, if you like, for Rutherglen. And I think it's been quite important to try and focus a bit what we can do there. So we've had a bit of engagement with both the council departments and the station, the network rail people and Rail 74. We've got, I mentioned before, we have 15,000 miles later side for the Royal Borough Street Signs project. If you think about London boroughs, we've got London Borough of Kensington with a coat of arms on it. It's that kind of thing we're hoping to do in Rutherglen, and that's being costed out at the moment to give a bit of sort of singularity, if you like, to the Main Street area. The municipal buildings, you probably noticed coming in today that Douglas's bit in the employability section has been painted a nice blue colour. You think they do it all together, but they do it as different departments. So the town hall is having a fair bit of investment to modernise it a wee bit after the 21 years after its major resurrection, as it were. And there'll be some frontage done as well, and also the library and the whole post office building. The station is doing some work just now, and will be hopefully, I think we don't know the timing of that yet, some work as well on the walkway, where we're hoping to have some vinyls. So this has been done by Rail 74. They are a group that advocates for the Argyle line, if you like, and there'll be some community things there, and also some montages from other 900 too. We're looking at the main street and the sort of surrounding is in terms of like the signage, the kind of state of the white lines, the bins, the phone boxes, and all that kind of. Just really see if we have a general tart up, so to speak, which I hope will be a bit of a permanent thing as well. We're doing something with the community payback team on the railings at the Old Parish Church and the Rutherglen Park and the two little parks on the other side. So that's very important. And in that context, there will be a bit of activity on the bit opposite the town hall, the kind of green bit there, which has been a bit sort of unhappy in the recent years. I think it's fair to say that we'll hopefully have something really floral display on it as well. Then finally, and this is not a matter of detail, there will be street banners, which I think you'll see from the kind of layout there, both across the street and developing areas, both in Rutherglen Main Street area and also in the various communities around Rutherglen too, like slightly smaller ones in Spittal and places like that. So that's all working, I think, quite well.
Yeah.
Just say, to finish off and say the programme.
One thing that I forgot to mention, which is definitely a highlight, is the schools programme. So alongside all of the 5 strands that will be happening as part of the programme, we're also running a very full schools programme. So I've been working in partnership with the sub group within the schools for the last year, and we've developed this programme, which was as a result of focus groups with the school. And what the schools wanted is this is the primary schools, they wanted simultaneous events to happen across all of the schools in Rutherglen at the same time. So you'll see from our website, we've got a very full programme. Some of the events are events that we've developed alongside the school as part of the subcommittee group. Some of the events are projects that we've kind of invested in. So, for example, there's a growing project which is inspired by the Mills of Rutherglen, and that's in partnership with Grow 73 and the Heritage Society. So the children are learning all about the mills and also doing their own project, and that spans the whole of 2026. They're also doing a podcast project with the libraries, where the library is visiting each of the schools and working to develop a podcast. And the content of that podcast will be launched, I think it's April 2026. And then it becomes content for the new heritage trail map that the library are developing. So there's 3 big meaty projects within that school programme, and definitely worth keeping your eye on. And whilst I'm talking about schools, you can see these images here. We've got the school's programme logo up there, top centre, which was designed by Sahara. And then bottom, we've got Doogie the Pigeon, which was a massive big competition that we ran again across all 11 schools, all primary schools. And it was whittled down to 10, and Doogie the Pigeon was the clear winner, who was voted in Landomer Day with quite a significant amount of votes. So currently, Doogie the Pigeon has been made into a costume, and you will see Doogie the Pigeon popping up roundabout in the community and also attending some various events. So watch this space.
Just to finish off on legacy, just a suggestion, we want obviously we have celebration during 2026, but also something we left. I talked about the streetscape earlier on, that may be an aspect of it. There's an element of building the capacity of local organisations, because I think that's important generally, and the more we can do that, the better. Obviously, there's issues of enhanced pride and identity with Rutherglen. I'm not sure if you ask the children in the area or young people in the area where they come from, there may be a tendency to say, well, from Glasgow or something like that. That's probably what we're looking for. There's the potential of bringing Landomer up to its former glory, so to speak. School choir has been talked about, and that could be a permanent feature, and there could be some sports competitions as well out of it. So a range of things like that. That's a developing aspect of the thing as well. Hopefully that gives you a bit of flavour of what's really planned during the year. It is very much a developing programme, and we've got some impressed by some just about how substantial it's become over the course of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Robert and Rachel, for that. And yeah, it certainly is a programme. There's an awful lot of work that's been done on it so far. Thanks very much for that. Really important to being a face to the Rutherglen, seeing what's happening next year, and me taking a picture of it. Does anyone else have any other comments or questions?
Yeah, that looks really good. We like different types of things that really give people at different tastes, but I hate when you're not really children say first thing you can say in terms of what people like. Did people actually get into that?
Yes, I mean, we've had very good engagements. I mean, Rachel, one of her jobs really when she came here was to meet with local groups or the people, get an idea of things. I did a fair number of meetings before that with people, as other people did, and we've got obviously a fairly wide community group on the steering committee as well. So there's been a variety of inputs of that kind, which is informed the programme. And I think it's fair to say which even slightly different from what maybe we would imagine when we began it. Worthwhile, you know.
And I think that's why the 5 strands have emerged as well, because it's really important, isn't it, to make sure that we're catering for everyone's tastes and needs. And it's also worth mentioning that we've in the last few months we've been recruiting for Rutherglen 900 volunteers, which is another way for people to participate that might not want to come to certain events. But we've now recruited maybe 12 volunteers in total, and they are a really exciting bunch of people that are really committed to contributing to the community, to learning more about Rutherglen, and just to be doing something different in the area. So yeah, really looking forward to that. Thank you very much. Very quickly before we move on to the next slide. So from this, we had a presentation, or a motion at full council rather, on Rutherglen 900, and Robert had mentioned the book Rutherglen Lore, which was written about 100 years ago now. It was written for the 800th anniversary, and you can get it online. It was republished. You can also access it online, and I've been dipping into it. And it's a brilliant recount, so it's a weekend reading recommendation for you of a meeting, not unlike this one, with various provosts from around other local boroughs, local dignitaries and so on. An awful lot of fiddle music and an awful lot of boasting. And a rather amusing argument about which representatives from which areas were toasting more than others. It's well off the read, and frankly, I had known I was chairing today, given the festive spirit, might have made you suggested changes to this afternoon. I think the Rutherglen Lore is getting reprinted in 2026, and there's also the launch of the new Rutherglen book, which is currently speeding its way to the printing press. It's still in process, but that will launch, I think it's May 2026. So that'll be a great moment, and also there'll be a lot of events that surround that, a lot of discussions, a lot of conversations, a lot of workshops in relation to that book launch. Well, Never know, maybe our committee will be an Probably not trying to make things. That's great, thank you very much. Thanks for that presentation. Are we happy to look at the report, everyone? Yeah, okay. Right, thank you very much for your patience. Moving on to item 6 now. This is Education Scotland report on Hallside Primary in Cambuslang. And we have Kirsty McNeill, who's also with us this afternoon, and delighted to welcome the head teacher at Hallside and Andrea as well. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair, and good afternoon. I am the Quality Link Officer for Hallside School, and I'm pleased to be here today with a very proud head teacher, Suzanne, who has been head teacher now at Hallside for 6 years. The purpose of this report is to advise of the outcome of the inspection of Hallside by Education Scotland. In September this year, Hallside School was the focus of a full model inspection by Education Scotland's inspectors. And paragraph 4.1 of the committee report takes us through the areas of the schoolwork that were evaluated using Scottish Education's national quality framework. How Good is Our School, the 4th edition. Those areas were leadership of change, learning, teaching and assessment, ensuring wellbeing, equality and inclusion in the school, and raising attainment and achievement. Hallside School is a non-denominational primary school serving the halfway community of Cambuslang. Most children reside in Scottish Index of Multiple Deprivation Quintile 4. The current roll is 312 children across 12 classes. Senior leaders report that 44% of children require additional support with their learning. The leadership team comprises of the head teacher, the deputy head teacher and a principal teacher. The head teacher, as said earlier, has been in post for 6 years. The school role is steadily increasing each year, mainly through parental placing requests at all stages. During the 4 days in the school, inspectors observed learning in the school, spoke with groups of pupils and staff, and met with parents and members of the local community. The inspection report for Hallside Primary was published on the 18th of November 2025. Inspectors evaluated the school leadership of change as very good. Learning, teaching and assessment provision in the school was evaluated as good. For ensuring well-being, inclusion and equality, the school were evaluated as very good. And their outcomes on raising attainment and achievement in the school was evaluated as good. Paragraph 4.2 highlights the key strengths of the school as noted in the report. In summary, these are: the highly effective head teacher has established successfully a positive and inclusive ethos. All members of the school community feel valued, respected and empowered. The values of respect, excellence, active confidence and honesty, REACH, are well embedded and reviewed regularly with all stakeholders. The values are clearly reflected in all aspects of the school life. Children display very strong regard and respect for each other and the adults who educate and care for them. The leadership team have a very strong understanding of the needs of the school, and they manage the pace of change and improvement very well. The leadership team encourage meaningful parental involvement in school improvement. Teachers provide well-organised, purposeful learning spaces with interactive displays. These inclusive environments promote high levels of participation and collaboration. Teachers liaise effectively with their stage partners to plan and moderate learning and teaching approaches and to assess children's progress. Staff have created a very calm, purposeful and understanding ethos and culture and high expectations of children. Children are happy, kind and supportive of each other, offering help naturally and willingly to their peers and others. Staff actively promote the ethnic diversity, wide range of cultures and religious beliefs which are evident around the school. The highly successful child-inspired project My Scotland, Your Scotland and Our Scotland encourage children and their families to share information about their current and historical cultural identity. As a result, children, their parents and staff have a greater understanding of the diverse community in which they live and work. Overall attainment in literacy and numeracy is good. Children at all stages benefit from a wide range of leadership roles. They have made positive changes and worked well with a proactive staff team to improve their school. Paragraph 4.3 references areas for improvement, which have been included in the school's improving planning for this session. They are not anything new, but endorsement from inspectors to continue to develop their approaches to delivering high quality learning and teaching, and to build on their approaches to providing feedback on children's work. This should help children to understand better what they need to do next and be more independent in their learning. As outlined in paragraph 4.4, inspectors are confident that Hallside has the capacity to continue to improvement and will therefore make no return visits in connection with this report. I'm now going to hand over to Suzanne Sandilands, who will share a few of her highlights from the report. Suzanne.
Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you to the committee for the invitation to attend today, and a little break from nativity, Christmas parties, Santa visits. As I was leaving today, 52 children were coming back from singing at Tesco up at Cambuslang. So it's welcome to sit down and get the chance to share our very positive Education Scotland inspection report. I am indeed very proud to be head teacher of Hallside Primary and share with you some of our many strengths recognised in the report. I would like to first apologise. I didn't realise you could bring a presentation. If it's easy to access the school website online, certainly our standards and quality report tab on the school website has lots of pictorial representations of what I'm going to say just now. So if it's not possible just now, I would recommend you have a wee look at that later on if you've got time. Prior to the inspection, as part of our ongoing self-evaluation, we asked our children what they would say to new families or visitors to the school. 2 of their comments were as follows. I love this school because we are just a big family. And Hallside is a great school because everyone is kind and you are always here. Sense of community and belonging is a strong feature of the exceptional positive ethos of Hallside. And it was fantastic to see this reflected in the report with some of the statements that Kirsty's already said, particularly our very strong, caring, nurturing ethos. Recognising that children display very strong regard and respect for each other, and also that the very effective partnerships with parents creates a strong sense of community. Our shared vision at Hallside that our children and our staff will articulate regularly is when we work together, everything is within our reach. It was lovely to read in the report that the inspection team noted our values are clearly reflected in all aspects of school life, and that staff, children, parents and partners work together to support our children to be confident, happy and enthusiastic learners. At Hallside Primary, pupils, parents and staff have regular opportunities to shape school improvement through formal groups such as parent council, pupil and staff leadership groups, and through completion of our annual How Good Is Our School stakeholder surveys. The school benefits from and proactively seeks support from the local community. The strong sense of belonging that we forge with our ethos of once a Hallsider, always a Hallsider, means that parents and carers continue to support the school community long after their children have moved on. Our vision of working together extends to beyond our school gates. We have formed very positive relationships with partners such as Special Support Teacher, Project 31, Associated Primary Schools, neighbouring schools, local shops, our Active Schools Coordinator, our chaplains team, Cambuslang Radio, to name but a few. All for the common purpose to provide the most enriching educational experience for our children. I'm confident as head teacher, anyone who works or learns with us will endorse that. and great that the report recognises the positive impact these partnerships have made on our young people. During the inspection week, a key emerging strength was that of empowerment. We are very proud of the statement within the report noting all HMI inspectors, do not use that word lightly, all members of the school community feel valued, respected and empowered. Listening to our children and acting on their views is essential to everything we do at Hallside. During the inspection week, a group of our fantastic P7 young people shared their Hear My Voice presentation, wish it was brought them with me today, detailing how their views are not only captured, but how they're acted on. The high level of consultation with all stakeholders across our school community has created a culture of empowerment over recent years and has successfully steered very impactful school improvement. The introduction of pupil leadership groups in session 23-24 has resulted in the school gaining the following awards in just 2 years since the group started: Gold Reading Schools, Gold Sports Scotland, Digital Schools, and Attachment Informed Practice Act to Make a Difference Award. While we are very proud that our hard work in these areas has been recognised through accreditation processes, what is most important to us is how participation in the change process has impacted so positively in the experiences and opportunities for our learners. This was recognised in the report. A strength of the school is a high level of pupil engagement. The report recognises the inclusive learning spaces, promote high levels of participation and collaboration. The report also recognised play pedagogy and primary 1 classes as strong practice and of high quality. Inspectors and their verbal feedback repeatedly said to us these are not phrases that we get to say very often. Our attainment data in literacy is consistently higher than South Lanarkshire, and the national average and our attainment data in numeracy continues to improve after a post-COVID dip in sessions 21-22 and 22-23. In session 23-24, our numeracy P147 data was 88.3%, an increase of 10.5% from the previous session. The staff team's analysis of data led us to identify that writing is the organiser that's preventing some children from achieving in literacy. This resulted in the school community focusing on improving our writing as part of our school improvement planning this session. This self-evaluation, as Kirsty said, was endorsed by the inspection team during the visit. We are delighted that during the visit, the inspection team identified practice worth sharing more widely. Again, this doesn't happen often in inspection reports. During the visit, the inspection team were all very impressed by our school's My Scotland, Your Scotland, Our Scotland work and celebrating the diversity of our school community. This whole project was led by the Community Pupil Leadership Group and again was an idea of one of our young people and involved children participating in interdisciplinary learning theme Scotland study, children showcasing their learning via whole school performance and having the opportunity to engage in a home learning task to explore their current and historical cultural family identity. The project culminated with a fantastic and really quite emotional culture day within the school which celebrated the rich diversity of our school community. What do we do now? Apart from looking forward to a well-earned break after a long-term one, as the report acknowledges, all staff have high expectations for themselves and children and have a strong commitment to working together to improve outcomes for children. At Hallside, we continue to work hard to give our children the best possible learning experiences and opportunities. The next steps in the report are already part of our improvement cycle. In summary, I believe the report showcases the school's main strengths, and we are immensely proud of this. The report is a credit to the teamwork of our children, staff, parents, volunteers and partners. When we work together, everything really is within our reach. Thank you. I welcome any comments or questions.
Thank you very much, Kirsty and Suzanne. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Okay, I'll make some note then. I'm delighted to welcome you along. It was Councillor Spilson, Brogan and myself have been lucky enough to enjoy a really close relationship with Hillside over the years, and as you know, through some of them were interesting times as well, with the decant and the buses and the exchange, COVID and everything. But we have been really lucky and I really appreciate that. We were at the last parent council just before the report came out, and I think you had some hints at that time, and I knew that we'd shortly get an email as ward councillors as well. And we knew it was going to be good news, but we were all championing a bit to see it, and since you would say we would be delighted to come and welcome you properly to the area committee and welcome what I knew was going to be a really good report. I always feel like I learn a lot whenever I visit any school in the wards or inside Lanarkshire, and we get to go to a parent council meeting. I've always had that feeling about Hillside, and my colleagues on that speak about it quite a lot, as well as parent council and budget X, Y, and Z. And that's really good, and you can see all of the ideas that come through the education committee that come to us from our sources as well. You can see them in action when you go in. But the level of detail that you provide as well at parent council meetings to the parents and sort of everyone else is really good. And yeah, it's been a joy being part of that school community. You feel the atmosphere when you come into the school very much so. It absolutely shines out of both sides. So there was no surprise at all. That was reflected when it was all the comments about inclusive, welcoming, environment, the ethos, and so on. But your point about all members of the school community, that's something easy and these types of reports. So it's absolutely incredible to see that. And please pass on again my thanks to all the staff who were involved in what I know was quite a stressful process going through inspection. It's a lot of work to prepare for it. And I suppose from that point of view, it's been very good saying we've now got holidays to go and relax and enjoy. Not that there's much relaxing in the lead up to Christmas in the primary school, I know. So I hope all of the last couple of days was smoothly and a very well deserved break.
Thank you for your
Just saying congratulations as well. Well, echo the comments and cheers. Obviously, I'm more involved in relation to also in now, but it's really positive to see, kind of holistic approach, particularly over the work in terms of integrating people culturally. I think that it's really vital. As a local authority, we become more involved in that across a range of different environments and services, including schools as well, and obviously in terms of the progression of attainment levels, numeracy, literacy, it's all going in the right direction. So just as I say, we get good comments this year. Congratulations on that excellent work, and thanks for bringing it to the committee.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to report everyone. It's okay. Thanks very much. Thanks, members. Right, but last few items to go through. We've got on page 17, we've got an update report on Rutherglen Common Good. Someone much better outside than me could say Graham is still online. Okay, so welcome Graham to go through this with us. Thanks, Graham.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you can all hear me okay.
Yep.
Thank you. The purpose of the report is to provide the annual update on the Rutherglen Common Good account. And it's section 3, providing a bit of background. Members will be aware just that section 3.4 outlining for information that the Rutherglen Common Good account holds cash balances only and that it doesn't hold any physical assets. And in sections 4 and 5, they provide details of the management and administration of the common good funds, including the revenue monitoring, preparation of the annual accounts and reporting to the committee, as well as the role of elected members in this process. At section 6, we're detailing the financial position for the year ended to the 31st of March 2025. And the audited accounts for the Rutherglen Common Good formed part of the Council's audited accounts that were approved at the Risk and Audit Scrutiny Committee back in the 30th of September this year. Appendix 1 on page 20 shows that at the end of 2024-25, the balance invested in South Lanarkshire's Council's Loans Fund for Rutherglen is 133,000. And at section 6 point 3 were noting that there was little expenditure incurred by the Rutherglen Common Good account other than the charge for the administration offset by the investment income received for that balance invested in the loans fund. And section 7 provides information on the consultations on the common good assets, and there are currently no consultations on new lease arrangements or change of use. So I would refer the committee back to recommendation in section 2 of the report that the background information and update on the Rutherglen Common Good account be noted, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks very much, Graham, for that. Does anyone have any comments or questions on item 7?
Just a quick one. I mean, it's partly noted that item 11 talks about ongoing repairs and maintenance. I think there's a haste and stick job that's got into the wrong report. I wonder if we could ask about the modified monies lunch, because I think it's probably not in this one because it's for the previous year. But what sort of amount is usually spent on that? If you can give us a bit of guidance on that.
Sorry, Councillor, could you repeat that? Sorry, I was struggling to hear just a bit.
Yeah, I was saying,
Sorry.
in terms of modified monies lunch, what kind of amount is usually spent on that? There's nothing in this report about it. I think that's because of the year rather than the date of it.
Yeah,
What?
It's a charitable trust.
Trust.
It's the mortified money.
Mortified one.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, sorry, in terms of the trust details, I can get that. I don't have that to hand, but yeah, I can get that information just in terms of how much is spent for the on the trust side, just in terms of that approves that. I can pass that on to obviously I just don't have that to hand just now, just with it being through the trust, but I can certainly pass on that information.
Thanks very much, Graham. Any further comments or questions? No, okay, happy to note the report. Great, thank you very much. Thanks,
Thank you.
Julia. Thank you. Move on to item 8, everyone, which is on page 21. This is forward programme for future meetings. So you'll see at section 1 the purpose of the report, and that this is to advise us of the forward programme to the 11th of November 2026. And you've got at appendix 1 a list running through from our first meeting of the new year, which is in March, and we've got various suggestions for inclusion on the agenda for each of those, and then the officer and the department responsible for them as well. So if you've got any future suggestions, anything that you would like to see included on that, then please, as ever, either email Carol as chair or email one of the clerks, and that can be discussed. Is there any comments or questions on what we've got before us at the moment? Nope, okay. And so obviously that will be subject to change, but that gives us an idea and overview of what's coming up next year. So we're happy to note that just now. Great, okay, great, thank you very much. And we've got number 9 now, community grant applications for approvals. This begins on page 25. So you'll see that we've got this report seeking approval of the allocation of 5 community grants, which we've got listed here, and they're all outlined at section 2 under the recommendations, where we've got each grant, the purpose of the grants, and the recommendation to be awarded by the committee. I've also noted down at point 5 as well, we've got financial implications where I know it's something that I was interested in keeping an eye on. Guess what the total allocation is for the grants and where we're up to with that at this time of year. Does anyone have anything they want to ask or clarify, any questions about any recommendations? No comments on them? Okay, in that case, I'll move that we grant the recommendations under section 2. If a seconder for that, please. Robert, thank you very much. Second, okay. Everyone agreed on that. We're moving on to item 10, urgent business, of which I have none. And you're pleased to hear that's been a long and interesting and very detailed meeting today with lots of presentations and guests and so on. Which is a nice way to round off the year. And thank you for your patience with me doing a role I don't usually do. I've been about for a while. And all that's left is to thank you for your attendance. Our next meeting isn't until next year, I can say that. It's March. and best wishes to all of you for a good break, hopefully, and a peaceful time and some rest and recuperation and relaxation for this. Thanks very much. Thank you. James.